Okay, good morning Year 7. Going to move on to alternate and interior angles today. We did corresponding angles, or the F angle, last lesson, and now we're doing alternate and interior angles. So the main aim of today is to identify alternate, identify interior angles within geometry problems. So it's still stuff to do with parallel lines. So drawing a couple of parallel line diagrams here. And we were looking for F angles last time, but alternate, which we'll start off with. So we'll do alternate first. That is imagining this. So if I mark that angle there, and that angle there, okay. You did this, drew this diagram, and you used a protractor to measure this angle, and used a protractor to measure this angle, they would be exactly the same. Okay, so that angle matches up with this one. And similarly, on this diagram, it's kind of sideways, but if you rotated your book, or if you just did it this way, or rotated your head, you'd have that angle there. If you measured that angle there, those would be exactly the same. Okay, now let's see what shape this produces. Not an F shape this time, but if I followed this angle with this angle, you get this shape instead, which is almost like a Z shape, a Z angle, or if you held it upside down, maybe an N angle, so Z or N, depending on which way round it is, or backwards Z or backwards N. But yeah, not an F, it's a Z. Okay, so in other words, Z or N angles are equal, and the fancy word for Z or N angles is alternate angles are equal. Okay, one more we have to do. Actually, make a big note of that. That's something really important that we need to know. Right, similar diagrams again. Two pairs of parallel lines. One line going through it, one line going through it. And now I'll ask you to measure this angle and this angle. Okay. Now you can see from the diagram, that's an acute angle, less than 90 degrees. That's an obtuse angle, bigger than 90. They can't be the same. You can't have an acute angle and an obtuse angle being the same. So these angles are not the same. But if you work that out on a protractor, and you work this one out on a protractor, they always add up to 180. Okay, so these add up to 180 degrees. On this diagram, that angle if you measured it, that angle if you measured it, that one's obtuse, that one's acute, there's no way they could be the same. But if you added them up, they add up to 180 degrees. Now, let's see what shape this is producing. It won't be an F, because that's corresponding. It won't be a Z or an N, because that's alternate. But this I think that looks like the letter U, and that's like a sideways U. Okay, so call these U angles. U angles. Okay, U angles. And they're not equal, they sum to 180 degrees. Now the fancy word for a U angle is an interior angle. Interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so last lesson we did F angles. Today now you've got this Z shape or an N shape called alternate, but also the U shape called interior angles. And we have to know all three of those. Let's have a look at an example. Okay, e.g. number 1. We have to find A and B. We've got a parallel lines. We've got a few things intersecting. And today we're looking for that Z shape or the U shape. So we're going to go in alphabetical order so I can work out A first. See if you can spot the Z shape or the U shape for this one. Right, it is a Z shape. That angle is the same as that angle. So A is equal to 50 degrees, and that's alternate angles. Right. E.g. number 1. Still part B. Okay, how can we go part B? Well, multiple ways to do it, but the quickest way is another Z angle. To give you B is 60 degrees. Alternate angles. And that's pretty much it. E.g. number 2. Okay, find X and Y. Again, we've got some parallel sides, got some lines intersecting, and we're looking for Z angles or U angles. So I always told you to work them out in alphabetical order, so we can somehow work out X first. So to me, that is a U angle. Now, these two angles are not equal to each other, but they always add up to 180. So how could you work out what X is? Well, it would be 180 subtract 65, which is 115 degrees. And that's called interior angles. Right, letter Y. How do you work this one out? Now, there's only one right answer to this, and it is a U angle again there, and these two add up to 180. So Y would be 180, subtract this answer, which is 80, which is 100 degrees. Now, the one thing people get confused with this one is, does that look like an F angle there? Now at first glance, maybe it does. That looks a little bit like an upside down F. So does that mean that's 65? And the answer is no. The reason is because the F angle needs these lines to be parallel to each other. But these are parallel to each other instead. So that there is not an F angle, okay, because these aren't parallel. So the only way to do this was with interior angles. Now I'm going to ask you guys to do two different exercises today. So, to practice alternate angles, okay, so alternate angles. Remember what shape they were, Z or N. You're going to do page 274. It's called exercise 15F. And you're going to do the odds only. Okay? Alternate angles. page 274, exercise 15F, odds only. And then you're going to do some practice on interior angles. So you'll be looking for this U shape. And that is on page 277. It's called exercise 15H. And you're going to do odds only again. And that should take you 15 minutes, 20 minutes max.